Well, I get the pleasure of being the last speaker of the day, which is always a lot of fun, especially when you're an academic, because academics are not known to be short with words. But I've been informed that 10 minutes should suffice, and so that's better than the last conference I was at a few years ago in Russia, where I was given 3 minutes at the last presentation of the day. So you can all start waving your hands at 10 minutes, and then I will stop, okay? You have a license to do that. Okay, so the other major challenge I have is that I have such an exciting topic. It's called leakage, and we've heard a little bit about it, and I'm sure that you're all dying to know more. So whether you like it or not, you're going to hear something. And the reason why I think linkage is important is because if we don't address it, and I'm talking about the international scale, I think all red funding will dry up. That's my prediction. So we better figure out how we're going to do it, and so I want to basically propose how we might tackle the problem. So if you take no other message away from me than the last little phrase on this slide is that if we're going to address leakage, we have to integrate our analysis with basically the forest estate or timber, and with timber products and timber trade. So it's not possible to effectively engage in leakage analysis of red projects without that component. And the good news is we have a way to do it. And I will talk about that. So I'm going to skip some slides because I assume you know things. And if you don't, then you can look it up because these will all be on the web. But I do want to say that there's lots of different elements of leakage. It's complex. We've heard this from the first two speakers who were dealing more with project level and national level leakage. My focus is on the international leakage. And this graph simply defines or describes how behavior in Vietnam, for example, which can shift forest products trade, and we could see an increase in emissions in another country, say, in this case, country A being Vietnam, country B being a neighboring country. And I won't name that country. But it is a real problem. So my colleague at C4 in Bogor said that in order to deal with international leakage, we will have to use trade models, and that gets very exciting. And you say, so stay tuned. And improve data, which really gets people jumping up and down, which I might actually do if I see anybody fall asleep, by the way. Models, they excite me a great deal. And so don't fall asleep because there are two kinds of trade models. And one kind is used by economists dealing with macro economies in a country like Vietnam. We propose and have built a trade model that works. It's called a partial equilibrium model, and it works in defined sectors, and we think there are a number of advantages to that. I will not take you through this slide, so you'll be very happy to know that I won't explain Armington elasticity to you. I'll save that for a lecture at some point in the future. But the main thing is to realize that there's controversy amongst modelers about how to do this, and I think we have a better one, and it's freely available because we built it. So inside that model, there's 4 key elements to remember. That is that the supply in this graph is where we would deal with the red issues. And then we would integrate that with trade and forest products and consumption and manufacturing capacity. So let me just show you that carbon gets embedded in what we call a forest estate model. And that model can work at many scales, and so we want to make sure that that we are capturing the forest properly And this is the first of its kind in terms of the modeling approach, where we actually link the forest to the trade in forest products. And that, from my point of view, for sustainability is very important. Okay, so that's the models. Then you need some data. So this means we've got to have lots of stakeholder engagement. Here's the kinds of data we collect: forest data, production data, consumption data, and trade data. We've done this before. I've done it in China through multiple stakeholder groups, supported by Forest Trends, and I can tell you that this is a process that can work in terms of dealing with the red issue. Here's a simulation that's not about red, but it's about certified forest products and how we ran this in Indonesia. So the good thing is that we have a model that can run, and policymakers get excited when they see graphs with lines, and they're easy to understand. And so we can crank out graphs like this. And we can do sensitivity analysis around a whole bunch of factors around carbon and traditional forest products. So we have a track record, as I mentioned. We have a couple of reports that you can look at if you wish from Forest Trends that we publish, and this is where we engage in a dialogue in China and Russia and Indonesia, and so all the technical details in these two reports I leave to you to read at your leisure. So what I'm proposing really, and that's why I came, is that we should do something in Vietnam. And because we can go through the same process around red as we have done around forest products trade. And that means we have to engage in the process around data, around modeling scenarios, and around analysis, which includes stakeholders, and then producing results that we feel that a large range of policy actors can buy into. And so I think that Vietnam could take the lead in demonstrating to the rest of the world how you deal with the international leakage problem. I won't go through the results. I don't see anybody waving hands yet, but I must be close to 10 minutes. And so really there is a policy implication to this. We want better policies that address red issues. We want key policy actors involved, and we want to build capacity. And that's something that I feel strongly about, and I hope that we can get to. Here's some results as other publications. There's about another dozen or so. If anybody's really keen, you have my email address. Thank you very much.